I see you in the studio. You're in it's Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I'm in. This is the Atmos room I'm in right now. Are you familiar
Nice.
with Atmos at all yet?
A little bit. I wish I knew more about it. All I know is that if it's available when I go to the movies, that's what I pick because it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I can only
Yeah.
imagine what an Atmos room must be like. I saw an early screening of Nosferatu at the Dolby Labs in one of their Atmos rooms, and it was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've been doing actually a lot of. I did Ghost's entire catalog in Atmos, and I do a bunch of mixes in Atmos now.
That's awesome. I love that. I was gonna say, so I did try to do a little bit of research. I'm not super familiar with music production. So
Yeah.
what is it exactly that a mixer, a sound engineer does when it comes to like Ghost coming into the studio? What is your part that you play in that?
Yeah. So my part with Ghost is mainly mixing.
Hmm.
So basically, what happens is after all the tracks are recorded, it's my job to make sure everything merges together and sounds. You can hear all the different parts. Songs have a vibe, whatever vibe Tobias is going for. Make sure everything is punchy, and just it's really it's not the last line. Last line is mastering, but
Hmm.
so basically, I get the sessions, I get the Pro Tools sessions, and everything is kind of levels are kind of where they need to be, and then I put my touch on it and hopefully make it sound great.
That's awesome. How did you originally get into doing that? Was that a career that you knew you wanted to do as a young age, or like was there an
Yeah,
album that set
very,
it off?
very, very young. Yeah, I started out as most people in a band. I was in a metal band called Wicked Mariah,
Nice.
and we toured and did a bunch of touring in the '90s. And then I get the bug when I got in the studio with Wicked Mariah to do some recording sessions, and I saw the big console, and I was so much more interested in that side of it than the touring or you know, being in a band. I was always interested in the technical side of it. I'm kind of like a technical nerd, so
Yeah. That's awesome. I saw the console. I was going to talk about that because you showed off the analog wall of power, which is
yeah,
gorgeous.
crazy.
And then your different like mixing tracking setup, which to me is so intimidating. I've got like buttons on my laptop that I still haven't pressed because I don't know what they do.
Yeah,
And I look at your setup and I'm like, that's hundreds of buttons and knobs and switches, and it scares the hell out of me. I don't know how you do it.
it's pretty wild. So yeah, my studio is kind of unique these days. Whereas I have, the best of the digital, the newest, the latest, and the greatest, which I use all the time. But I also have a ton of vintage gear and my vintage SSL console, which is what I mix all my records on. Um, So yeah, I have very, very, very modern part of my studio and also very, very classic, the analog gear, because to me there's no replacing it.
That's awesome. I was trying to think of, is there anything in Ghost catalog that would have that analog sound? Because I also love the sound of analog.
All of it.
All of it?
Every Ghost record is mixed on an SSL 4000. That's the name of the console.
Okay.
Besides this newest one, we originally started it. Another mixer and I, Andy Wallace, we originally started in my studio, which has an SSL 4000.
Hmm.
And we mixed it for maybe about 2.5 to 3 weeks. Some times went by, um, and everything was fine. Every record sounded good. I think when they went to press the vinyl, they weren't happy with some things about the sound that they wanted to get once they heard the vinyl. So I got a call from management, Tobias's manager, Kristen, and it's basically like, "Can you come to Stockholm next week?" It was that short of notice.
Yeah.
Um, And I said, of course, yes. So what I'm getting to with that is I remixed the whole record then on a new SSL, which is called the Duality, which is kind of the latest and the greatest, the half digital, half analog. I loved it. And you may, I don't know how much of Ghost stuff you've listened to, but this record kind of sounds a little cleaner, a little like the newer SSL. The more vintage SSLs are a little dirtier, they're a little grimier.
Yeah.
Um, this one is very clean.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it suits the record really well, but that's the difference, sonically.
Absolutely. I've listened to it a lot. Congratulations, by the way, number one album. It's got to be
It's huge,
exciting for
right?
everyone
Yeah,
involved. Yeah.
yeah,
I've listened to Skeleta. I don't know if I've been able to listen to it 1,000 times since it came out, but I have listened to it probably close to that. It's
yeah.
just
It's
been on a
great.
loop. But I agree because I was listening to you've got this incredible Spotify playlist of just
Yeah,
everything you've worked on.
yeah,
And I was listening to that ahead of this, and obviously you've got other bands and artists on there, but I was getting to
sure.
the older Ghost songs that you had mixed,
Yeah,
and like Per Aspera and Ad Inferi, Con Clavi Con Dio, those have that kind of grimy analog
yes,
sound
very
early
much.
from Infestissimum and stuff. And then yeah, Skeleta does have that slightly cleaner,
Yeah,
more like polished glam sound to it. It's fantastic. I think this album obviously sounds incredible. I love every intro. I love the crunch and the riffs and everything. It's so fun.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, great work on it. Obviously, I that's why this whole conversation's happening is because I was talking
right.
about how much I love Ghost.
Oh, great.
But I will talk about some other artists though, because your playlist, like I said, is stacked. You've got Gojira, you've got
Yep.
Avenged Sevenfold,
Yes.
you've also got some pop artists,
Yeah.
some punk rock, and even some kids bop songs. So
Yeah.
how do these different jobs come to you? Is it just referral or
It's all referral.
okay?
Um, so maybe you notice Bowling for Soup on, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. It's funny. This business is um, the bass player is a good friend of mine, Rob Filicetti.
Oh, awesome.
He's a local Stroudsburg guy. So it's one of those things, Rob joined Bowling Soup some years back. And so let's go work with Dan. It's one of those things. And I pride myself in being able to work on a large variety of music. I'm not just a metal guy. I think most of my success is in hard rock and metal,
Mhm.
but I do. I did a Nellie McKay record recently, which is kind of like jazzy.
Nice.
Um, but I would say I'm most comfortable with if you need something to sound massive and larger than life, that's what I'm most comfortable with. But I can certainly, like I said, I can do jazz records. I mean, if I wanted to hire someone for a jazz record, I probably wouldn't hire me, but I can do a good job on it because I appreciate
Yeah.
it all. But the Kids Bop, everything, it's referrals. Um, that's really this business. Everything comes from referrals.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big business, but in a way, it's a very small business. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
you know, you know someone, and you know
yeah. Well, I mean,
that's it.
you're doing a good job, and that's why they keep referring you. So it's got to mean something.
It's important to do a good job, and it's also important not to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Not to sound like, you know, it's important to be accommodating, bend over backwards, and just pretty much say yes all the time. I mean, if the people appreciate what you're doing for them, and there's like this mutual
Hmm.
relationship, you just have to be available, and you have to say yes, and it's yes, because for instance, not to go off on a tangent, but the Stockholm situation was really last minute.
Hmm.
It was, I was jet lagged like crazy. I had to go work at a studio I've never worked in before, which I know it sounds like maybe it's not a super big deal, but it's hard to get used to a new room, new
Yeah.
speakers, new console, and we were kind of pressured a little bit with time. Um, but you just have to do it. You just have to always say yes.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
if,
I mean, that makes sense.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. If
I mean, in
if
life, I
someone's
think
not fun to
life.
work with, you're not going to want to call them back, no matter how good the work was, right? Yeah.
No, and that's even with assistants I work with, and I have a hard time using that assistant word because it bothers me because I was an assistant for so long.
Mhm.
So I don't like using assistant engineer, but that's what they're called in the business. You just have to be really nice and respectful to people, because there are a lot of people in this business that aren't. So I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but
No, no, it's good. That's what we're here for. I want to
yeah,
hear all the stories. You've worked
yeah.
with a ton of people. Is there um are there different techniques or like routines that you do consistently on each album you work on, and then different things that you change up artist to artist?
I have a routine. I'm definitely a scientist mixer. I look at everything. I'm not one of those guys who just could load something up really quick, get a vibe, and kind of be done with it. I have to look at every track. I have to inspect things. I have to go through my process. I have to go through a technical processes with setting up the console how I want, setting up the tracks how I want them to be in the session. I have to look at everything. I have to solo everything just to make sure there's no mistakes. Now I'm at the point, luckily, where I can have my assistant do that, but
Mhm.
just make sure there's no clicks, there's no pops, there's no noise. So I really look over everything. It takes me a day and a half to mix a song. It's not something that I do in a few hours, sometimes longer, depending on, what what's involved. But I have a very regimented technique of how I do things.
Mhm.
It's not fast. It's very I don't leave anything to chance basically. I look over everything, which is sometimes not cool to admit, and it's like some people will just really be vibey about stuff. I'm looking over every kick drum, every snare drum, every tom. Is this tom louder than this one? Is this, and maybe some people would say that's sterile sometimes, but I don't think so. I just think that for my mind, I have to make sure that I did the best possible job I can.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it pays off, especially when you see an album as intricate as Skeleta or some of the other stuff you've worked on, because there's little things that you don't notice the first time you're listening through, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah,
there's cowbell here, and
yeah,
oh, this keytar with all this, like it's pretty insane.
yeah. Because my philosophy is, if it's in the song, you should hear it.
Hmm.
So, meaning if there's an orchestra with 50 tracks, different, and there's a little guitar part and this little tiny part over here, if it's in the song, you should hear it. So sometimes I have to really carve and move stuff around to be able to hear it. And so if I didn't inspect all that, and at a certain level, the production is so good that the bands are doing, or the producer, they know where everything is anyway.
Hmm.
Um, so they'll call me out if I miss it, but I'd rather not miss it, and then them have to call me out on it. So, like, hey, you missed this little part. I'm usually not going to miss something.
Yeah, of course. Is there, obviously you've got a ridiculous resume, but are there any songs off the top of your head that you're particularly proud of, like how they turned out with those more complex mixes, or anything that you're really proud to say you pulled off?
It's definitely ghost stuff,
Hmm.
and probably the Avenged Sevenfold record, which I also worked Andy Wallace on. That was a very complicated, very, because there's a lot of live orchestra.
Hmm.
So getting that record to be able to hear everything, life is but a dream. I was blanking on the name, sorry. Um, that's a really complicated record, and to be able to hear all the different parts. So
Yeah.
but I'm honestly, I'm mostly proud of this latest Ghost record. There's a lot going on. There was a lot of obstacles to get that record done, um, which is also a big part of this business, overcoming, you know, certain
Yeah.
obstacles to be able to get the record and to deliver it. And, the biggest thing with a record, it's a little longer, the length of the record. So
Hmm.
making sure it's going to sound good on vinyl, which
Yeah.
is, and, I'm mixing the record and I'm getting asked, hey, is this going to sound good on vinyl? Is this going to sound good on vinyl? Is this going to work on vinyl? And in my mind, I'm saying, yes, it'll, but I'm also questioning myself because we already got one chance to fix it. We're not going to get another chance to fix it. And Ghost sells a ton of vinyl. So
Yeah.
if they print however many vinyl, it doesn't sound good. There's only one person they're going to be staring at.
Yeah. No,
So
it sounds great on vinyl. So you got
good.
that down, which is good. I would say because you'd mentioned sounding good on vinyl, and this was a question I like to ask everybody because I'm
Yeah,
a huge proponent of physical media. I
sure.
own so many
Me too.
movies on DVD, VHS, and I own a lot of vinyl and CDs.
Good.
What's one piece of physical media that you own that you're most proud of, or that is something that you would like grab in a fire?
You mean a vinyl?
Anything. If it's a book or a movie, I assumed yours would be music, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's probably some old Judas Priest vinyl I have, just because I'm like,
nice.
reminds me of my childhood, and I have a lot of Judas Priest vinyl, so I'd probably grab that stack. But I have a lot of vinyl, and
Yeah.
it will be a lot of those kind of older, late '70s, because my brothers, old Queen or Judas Priest would be like the heavier side. Because when I was growing up, it was like, yeah, the Judas Priest guys and the Iron Maiden guys
Hmm.
are more of the Judas Priest guys. So I'd probably just grab that stack. And then, I have a ton of guitars because I'm a guitarist. So,
Okay.
I'd definitely grab a few of those.
Yeah. Just filling
Uh,
a whole trailer.
and some crazy vintage microphones. And, they're just,
Yeah, it's too
I wouldn't
much.
be able to get it. Yeah.
That's awesome
But I,
though.
but
Yeah.
I, but I, but I also I have a vinyl set up in like, I have a workout room and I have
Hmm.
my vinyl setups right next to that. So a lot of times I crank vinyl while I'm working out.
That's awesome. Do you
Yeah.
have because I am in the market for a new record player because I had one of those little suitcase ones that is obviously terrible for vinyl and I don't want to mess up any of my records with it.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation for a good
You
at-home
know,
record player?
I just bought a new one and I can text you, I could send a picture of it. It's pretty good. It's not a crazy expensive one. I think it was maybe $600, somewhere right
Not
around
too
there.
bad.
Not too bad, but
Yeah.
I think it sounds really good. So I could send it to you. My
Awesome.
tech Daryl recommended it, so I can't remember the name.
Oh, perfect.
It's not a super common name.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
definitely take that info.
yeah.
Um, for the, I was going through some of your other tracks and I saw that you had mixed Spillways when they brought in Joe from Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how your process on working on that one? Because I love that song so much.
That was interesting. Now I should say that both Andy, Andy Wallace, the mixer,
Hmm.
both Andy and so we work together on many, many, many things. So a lot of times you receive something and stuff that we've worked on together when it comes to Ghost.
Hmm.
We worked on Ghost together, Avenged Sevenfold, and Gojira.
Okay.
Um, so that was interesting. The Joe Elliott spill. I love that song.
Yeah.
I think it's an incredible song. I can tell you with that song, Joe and Tobias sound really similar. I don't know if
Yeah.
you find that in the Tobias sings the first verse. I think Tobias sings, correct me if I'm wrong, Tobias sings the first half of the first verse. Joe sings the second half of the first verse,
I
and
think
then
so. Yeah.
they think they swap.
Yeah. I
They
think he like
swap.
comes in at the bridge.
Yeah,
All your faith. Yeah.
actually, the hardest thing about making that song was getting um, Tobias and Joe to sound different. So it was like EQing, because actually the owner of Loma Vista, the label, had called Andy and I and said, "Man, it sounds so similar." And I get, from what I understand, that was because Joe was really a fan of
Hmm.
Ghost and Tobias, and I think he was trying to, you know, I don't want to say mimic, but
Yeah.
they sound a lot alike. It's almost, you know,
No, I mean, I do the same when I'm singing along. I unintentionally
right?
start to imitate the singer, of course.
Yeah,
But well, it turned out great, and you can definitely tell them apart. I think it was difficult at first when I was listening to it because I was like, I gotta
yeah,
compare this to the original now and see if I can
yeah,
pick up where the change is. Um, let's talk a bit about Avenged Sevenfold. How did that come to be? You said the Life is But a
I've
Dream album.
dreamed, yeah,
Okay, and that had more than just the original band on it.
yeah. That was Brooks Wackerman, was the drummer on
Hmm.
that record. I think that this might have been, yeah, this was his first record with the band.
Hmm.
And they I think they did the string section in California on the sound stage, I believe.
Hmm.
But that have you heard that record at all? Or
I heard what was on your Spotify list. Yeah.
yeah, it's there's some of those songs, it's very, very involved. Some of the songs had two to three drum kits on one song. So say like a drum kit for a verse, drum kit for a chorus, drum kit for a bridge, outro. And then the biggest part on that album were the string sections.
Hmm.
the orchestration. That was the most challenging. Um, to fit in orchestration with heavy guitars, big drums. Um, I love those guys. Those guys are great too. They
Yeah.
were actually here at the studio for probably about 3 months. Um, they lived up here for a while, so those are great guys. Matt, in particular, and they're all great guys.
Yeah.
And Matt's super down to earth and easy to work with, and
Nice. Yeah, we I saw them at Warped Tour like 20 years ago when their first album, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, had come out. And they were on one of the smallest stages. There was like 30 of us in the audience, and
not
they
anymore.
tore it apart. Yeah, it was insane. And as soon as they were over, I ran over to their booth and I bought a hoodie and a t-shirt, and I was like, "You guys are one of my new favorite bands." And Matt hung out and just chatted with people for
He's a great
the
guy.
rest of the day.
Yeah,
And then I saw them at Warped Tour, I think 2 years later when they were on the main stage, and it was thousands of people there to see them because their second
yeah.
album had just dropped, and he was still hanging out at the booth, just chatting with people whenever he wasn't on stage.
He's an all.
Um, and yeah, they've never really phoned it in.
Never.
Even their early stuff, they were changing time signatures and just doing crazy, crazy stuff.
They're
Uh,
great. They're all great musicians.
yeah.
They're really into their craft. That's one. I mean, I respect a ton of thing about them, but they
Mhm.
don't ever phone it in. They're
Yeah.
watching. They're looking at every detail. They're making sure they're not there just so, "Oh, we got to make a record." They love what they do, and you can tell.
Yeah.
Um, the same thing with Ghost. Tobias. The Well, I guess when you get to that level of success, there's a reason for sure,
Yeah.
and you stay there. These guys are looking over every part. Nothing is by, oh, just let it go. There's none of that. Um, it's really watching, because I work with bands of all different levels, and when you see the guys at their pinnacle, there's a reason.
Hmm.
It's not just because they're very talented; they obviously are, but they'll work, and they'll work to get it right, and they'll work again to get it right, and you know it's inspiring to see.
I bet. Yeah. That's probably why you guys work so well together, because you and your routine, you're also very
Yeah, yeah,
particular in making sure it's all perfect.
yes, for sure.
That's awesome. So what's the process there after they've, because you said they recorded in California, but
Yeah.
I assume but you said they stayed at the studio with you. Is that usually how it goes? Is the whole band is in there while you mix and kind of giving feedback?
Um,
Or is
Ideally,
each artist different? Oh, okay.
each artist is different. Ideally, it's always faster if, well, I'll tell you what the best situation is. The best situation is if we get the files, we get, say, a day to work on the song, just to get our, bearings, get kind of our approach, and then the band comes in, listens, and then makes comments. Because sometimes if the band's in from the very beginning, we don't even have the track together. Um, so it's best to be able to say, get your head around it, knowing where everything is, kind of do your take on the song. Which the scary part of that is sometimes you'll do that, and the band will be like, "No, completely wrong. Let's take it in this direction." That happens rarely because usually I have enough discussions, and there's usually a demo that you're listening to, like a
Mhm.
rough reference mix. Um, I like if the band. I enjoy the band being here because it's instant. Hey, let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try that. Going back and forth on email ends up taking a long time. I'm not opposed to it. That's how a lot of records are done these days. But that was one of the issues with Skeleta, is that Tobias wasn't able to be in Pennsylvania for the first mixes. Um, I mean, we're back and forth on Zoom, back and forth and texts and
Mhm.
emails, but really sitting next to Tobias for 2 to 2.5, 3 weeks, it's just everything's just smooth and it goes quicker. And it's also a certain amount of pressure that it puts on me because I have to perform. I can't, you have to be on
Yeah.
10 the whole time. But I like that because and you also get instant feedback. When people play and someone hears a song, if they don't like it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's usually the process is ideally the band will be in the area. You call them, "Hey guys, I'm about ready on the song," you know.
Nice.
This studio is cool because there's a lot of hangout areas. So even if the band gets here early, I'm not quite ready, then they can just hang out
Yeah.
and lounge or go outside or
Yeah, go chill in the barn. You were showing off
Yeah.
a massive barn event space, which
Yeah.
also looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a great setup you got.
Thank you.
Um, I would also say Gojira is another incredible metal band that I've been listening to for a while. What projects did you do with them? I listened to some of your playlists. They had come up a few times,
So
but
the record was called, it was the last record, but that's so that I have to say that most of that mixing was Andy Wallace. I was Andy's mix engineer, which means I'm doing all the technical side of the mixes. I'm making sure everything is technically where it should be, making sure it's more of the scientist side, and then Andy's like more of the overall sonic. So that was the first record we ever worked on together.
oh, okay.
So I would have to say on that record, Andy was definitely more of the mixer on that one.
Yeah.
We worked together on it, but so I was more of on the engineering side of it. And I'm
And that
sorry,
was Fortitude. Is that the one
Fortitude.
in 2021? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
bad.
you're good. So you and Andy have been working together for 5 years now?
Yep, yep.
Nice. And how did that partnership come to be?
Do you want the whole story, or I'll give you kind of abbreviated? You know.
Whatever you want. I'm here to listen to these stories. I love this shit. So
Oh,
if I
good,
need to
good,
edit it for later, I can. But yeah.
good, good. So Andy Wallace is a legendary mixer.
Mhm.
He's mixed everything from Nirvana Nevermind to Lincoln Hybrid Theory to Jeff Buckley. I think Angie actually produced Jeff Buckley records, but like Slayer,
Yeah.
Rain and Blood, all those kind of. But his discography is massive.
Mhm.
So I have a friend who owns a hotel in town whose name is Steve Erdel. Andy has over 100 classic cars. Andy has three huge pole barns full of beautiful classic cars. He's done very well.
Yeah.
But so Andy they do a car show every year, and they go from drive around the country and drive around different states, and they happen to be staying at my friend Steve's hotel in town in Stroudsburg. So my friend Steve, he talks to everyone, he gets around, moves, talks around. So he happened to be talking to Andy Wallace's wife, Trish, and so Steve said, "Well, what does your husband do?" He's like, "Oh, well, he works on music. He works with bands and different music." Oh, what kind of bands? Because Steve's prying and what? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, like like Nirvana and Linkin Park. He's like, "Ooh, that Andy Wallace." So because he's a musician, he went to Berkeley.
Yeah.
Um, so he immediately calls me. He says, "Dan, you got to get down and meet. You got to meet Andy. Andy's staying at the hotel." I completely blow him off. I'm like, I'm not going to bother Andy when he's on his car show. I'm not. The last thing he wants to do is talk about music. So finally, at the last night, Andy was leaving about 11 p.m. He was leaving the next morning. I went to meet him, and I just talked to him, said hello. We had a drink. Didn't talk about music at all. Not just talked about cars. Nothing about music. And he said, "Oh, I heard you have a studio." I was like, "Yeah, I have a studio," because Andy has a house about an hour from me in Jersey.
Mhm.
Uh, I was like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "I heard you have an SSL because we both work on the same console." Like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, "Stop by sometime and check it out." He's like, "Oh, I will." So just that was it. COVID happened, and Andy was usually working because he lives in Florida half of the year.
Mhm.
Um, Andy was working at a studio Criteria in Miami in the city, and with COVID, he didn't want to go there. He didn't want to be around it's more of a commercial studio with a bunch of people, bunch of rooms. So he calls me out of the blue and says, "Hey Dan, I got this record. Can I come see the studio?" Because he still hadn't seen the studio.
Mhm.
So we met him. He walked in. He's like, "You have everything I love." Just like that. You have everything I love. So I was like, so really, COVID was a terrible thing, but for me, I met Andy Wallace through it. And Andy has such a big marquee name that, you know, every project we work on together is, top of the food chain. So that's how I met Andy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And we've worked on a lot of projects together. Like I've worked on Andy's own music, and we've worked on lesser known projects, and you know,
that's
so
great. Do you and so you guys you said he's got more of the I think you called it the sonic approach to stuff and you're the more scientific approach?
uh on that record, on
Okay.
the first time we worked together, as we worked more together, it grew into, you know, something different.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I would say it's always weird to look back on it, obviously, because COVID was an awful time, but
Yeah.
so many people have used that, or even through luck or anything, managed to have something happen. Like I wouldn't be here chatting with you if that hadn't pushed me into what I'm doing online now. I'd still
Hey,
be working at a theme park. So
so what are you doing? So I asked you some questions. I know you do what is your is it,
I'm right now my day job is a copywriter. Monday through Friday, I'm writing emails and social copy and blogs and stuff. But my this whole thing is I'm an influencer, even though I hate that word.
no,
Just like
I
the
get
same
it.
way you hate assistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I started just talking about horror movies on TikTok, and because I was home during COVID and I had nothing to do, and I
Yeah.
lost my job temporarily, so I was like,
Yeah.
let's see what happens on TikTok. And I started talking about horror movies and it blew up. And I started doing comedy sketches. I'm a writer mainly. I've got like screenplays that I'm working on, but I also
Awesome.
have just passion for different aspects of pop culture. And Ghost is a band that I became a huge fan of around that same time. I was a fan before, but I started to dig deeper and really fell in love with their stuff. And then I done a comedy sketch about people who make fun of Ghost fans because obviously they've got their
Yeah.
devout like cult like following, and then they've
Yeah.
got their haters.
Yeah.
And I was just like making fun of the haters, and someone's like, "Well, what is the lore of Ghost? Like, I don't even understand this. How many singers
Yeah.
have they had?" And I'm like, "Technically, they've
Yeah.
only had one, but I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to tell you that. We're supposed to
Yeah.
pretend that it's this."
Yeah.
And so I did these two videos doing a deep dive into the whole backstory of the Papas and the clergy and all that. And those videos blew up. And then that's how I got this email where they were like, "Do you want to talk to Dan?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to talk to
Yeah.
Dan.
Why
Like,
not? Like, who's
what
that
is
guy? Yeah.
this?"
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. No,
Yeah.
like so it worked out for you too. Then like I mean, it's a
Yeah.
terrible thing, obviously, but you make you it, you were able to start your podcast.
Yeah. It gave me
That,
time to discover my passion and really find out what I love. I when I was working before COVID, I was working at Universal Studios and I was doing social media for them, which was still pretty fun. And I got to do some interviews during horror nights, and that's when I was like, I think interviewing is what I really like to do because I just love hearing people nerd out about the stuff that they're passionate about. So
you said horror movies. Did you check out Ghost Song Stay that but yeah, with Patrick Wilson?
yes, that's all right. I was going to ask you about that one. I knew I was missing something.
Yeah.
If we had gotten off this call without talking about it, I would have been so pissed.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that song, and that
Yeah.
was Patrick sings on that one.
Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy story. Patrick is a huge actor, right?
Yeah,
Obviously. Jersey guy, great guy. I mean, I don't know if I should say where he lives, but in New Jersey somewhere. Um, weird story with that. I'll give it to you real quick. I thought when I got the call from the label, the email from the label, they said Ghost is going to do a song with Patrick Wilson. I thought it was the drummer from um, Weezer. I think that's his
oh
name.
yeah, that's
I
right.
think that's his name, right? Yeah, Patrick. I was like,
Yeah, Pat Wilson.
I didn't think it was going to be the actor Patrick Wilson, and I didn't. That's about all the info I had from it. About and then um, I got contacted from I think it was Tim Bickford from what's their movie company
Blumhouse. Yeah,
Blumhouse, yeah. And then I figured I was actor Patrick Wilson. Patrick is awesome. It was just me and him in a room, and Tim. I didn't know what we were really supposed to do. We were just kind of figuring it out. Patrick is a metalhead. He is a total metalhead.
that's
Maiden is his
amazing.
favorite band. He's a great singer. He's a total metalhead. And like he's a great guy, super down to earth, chill. He wanted to make it great, and it didn't take him long. Maybe he was in the booth an hour. Um, I had great experience. Great
That's
guy.
awesome.
And
Yeah,
we still
I
we still
love that
we still
song.
text back and forth, about ghosts and different metal stuff, and
That's amazing. Yeah, tell him I said hi. Tell him all of my followers absolutely adore him. He's got
okay,
a
I
big
will.
cult following in the horror community. Patrick
I
Wilson
will.
is an icon. That's
Oh,
awesome.
great.
Yeah, that song, I remember when it dropped, there was like Bloody Disgusting did an article about it, and I think like Dread Central reported on it, where there were like new Insidious movies coming out,
Yeah,
and they have a song with Ghost featuring the star of the movie, Patrick Wilson, who I
yeah,
think he also directed that one too,
yeah. He did.
which is nuts. So I was like, this guy just can't stop showing us how talented he is all in one
He's
movie.
and he's as nice as you would want him to be.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So there's really, like they say, sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes. You want to meet him because he's really awesome.
Definitely, yeah. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we are running short on time, and I don't want
Yeah.
to keep you
Yeah.
because I know you're a very busy man, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was just doing like a horror string section before we got on the phone. Just some really like weird. I'm producing a record from this guy's name's Mike Trottini. He's up and coming. He's making this crazy, really it's theatrical, very dark record. But we just had a string section doing some really crazy live strings.
Awesome.
Or it's like kind of like Michael Myers or like old '70s violins and stuff.
Hell
So
yeah.
that's what I'm doing right 3 minutes before I got on this call with you.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing the final product there. I'm gonna keep an eye on your stuff, and then hopefully we can chat again in the future
Yeah.
if you get more stuff to talk about because this has
Yeah.
been an
I
absolute
appreciate you
blast.
doing. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna post. I recorded the whole thing, so I'll be sharing it on my YouTube channel. But most of my followers are on TikTok and Instagram. You're not on TikTok, right? I saw you on
I'm not, but
Instagram.
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm getting into
Um,
the times.
Do it, yeah. I'll pull some clips and drop those on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll tag you every time, and then
I
the whole
really
thing will be
appreciate
going
it.
up on my YouTube. No, I think this was great. I had such a great chat, and I definitely appreciate you taking the time.
Great. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, Dan.
Good luck with everything.
All right, thank you so much.
Bye
All
bye.
right, bye.